mentioned that it fits to the product life cycle. So it means what are the stages of a product life? This is the thing we're gonna speak, I think, in the end of today's class. But it also describes the situation. You know, in reality, the life cycle is following that typically the product starts first as a question mark because it's a new product on the market with a low market share and but high growth rate. Then it's star because it's still growing, the turnover is growing, the same as the relative market share is growing. Then it turns into cash cows because the growth rate is stagnating or going down, but the relative market share is still high. And finally, it goes to the quadrant of dogs because relative market growth is low or stagnates, falling down, and the relative market share is also decreasing. So this is the main idea of this BCG matrix. Now there is a time for your questions. Do you need to sum it up? Do you need to repeat something in order to make clear that we understand this? So the question mark. Okay. Yes. So perfect. Yeah, write me your question. No problem to sum it up. So the question mark, it's typically a product that's in the beginning of the product in the beginning of its life. Yeah. So the product where the relative market share is low because for the reason that the product is new, but the turnover from this product is growing year by year. This is a question mark. Imagine the situation that you're presenting a new product in the market. So you don't know how will be the development and the evolution of the product. Therefore, it's assigned as a question mark. The new product has a low market share in comparison with the existing products on the market. But it's growing, you know, it's new, it seems to be attractive, popular, brings some benefits for consumers, and therefore it's growing. So therefore, the situation is a question mark. It's typical for a product that are new on the market, yeah? Therefore, it's called a question marks. Maria, is it clear? Do you need to, shall I explain it more detailed, Maria? Or is it okay? Yeah, okay, fine. So now how to, yeah, Beatrice, one more comment about the question mark. Beatrice is also asking, is the question mark only for new firms or product? Not necessarily, but the situation when the market share is low, but it's still growing, it's typical for new products or for new markets. But again, in this model, we measure not the absolute, but the relative market share. Yeah. So we measure how is the market share of question marks in comparison with stars. Question marks in comparison to another, yeah, to cash cows and to dogs. So because we measure the relative market share, it's dependable. It depends on the market share of another's. Yeah. So therefore, we speak about the relative market share, and it's typical that the question marks are product or companies in the beginning, because you know if the product should be the question marks for 10 years, only in a situation if the rest of products, if stars, cash cows, and dogs would be stagnating for 10 years. Yeah. So only if the rest of products, only if the rest of quadrants are stagnating for years, then we can say that the product is still the question mark, even though it's been presented on a market 10 years ago. Yeah. So therefore, typically we assume that the question mark is a product that's rather newer and that's been presented on a market in past. Beatrice, is it clear, or shall I sum it up somehow? Do you need more explanations? Yeah. Okay. If you have more questions, just don't hesitate to ask me. Just for summary, once more. BCG matrix. This is an internal analysis or one example of the internal analysis. We say that this is a portfolio analysis and this is described in a matrix. The matrix has 4 quadrants describing the combination of market growth rate and relative market share. I'm going to show you in a minute how to calculate both and how to do it in Microsoft Excel. There are possible 4 situations that correspond with the life cycle of a product. So typically, the product starts as a question mark with a low market share and with a low market growth rate. Then it typically turns to stars. You know, stars are product with a high market share, high relative market share, and high market growth rate. Products that are still growing and they're very successful on the market. Then they are typically turned to cash cows when the market growth rate does not grow so strictly. It's typically lower or it can stagnate. And the relative market share is still high. You know, the product is well established on the market with a high demand of customers. And finally, there are dogs. The product can turn into dogs from cash cows, and this is a situation with a low relative market share and low growth rate. The product is in the end of its life cycle, not very attractive on the market, and decreasing the turnover. Yeah, so relative market share and market growth rate, 2 variables that are important if we would like to define the BCG matrix. It's once more, it's applied for the analysis of products from our one company and to see how profitable and how is the market potential of these products. So therefore, we are using this analysis, or we can use the comparison of the companies on a market. And we know the data. Yeah. By the way, where to obtain the data about the market growth rate and the relative market share? We can obtain the data from the profit and loss statement. Okay, profit and loss statement. We've already spoke about this, I think, in a 3rd lecture. So if you open this, there are the information about the turnover. You know, the turnover, those are the information for the market growth rate, because we can calculate how is the difference, how is the growth in turnover in the actual year and in the previous year. And the relative market share, again, the turnover of our company in comparison with the turnover of the rest of companies on the market. So, used for the analysis of the market potential. What else is your question? Yeah. So could you please turn on your microphones? Somebody turn it on. And it disturb a bit. And yes, yeah, so this is, you know, that's just the interaction. Why is it used? Because in easy way, we can do the comparison of selected products or selected company with others and see how is their possibility on a market, you know, how is the market potential for future. This is the one thing. The second thing, one more question or one more information. Sometimes, or not sometimes, there is one more important thing that we would like to change the position of the products in a matrix. How exactly? You know, what's good idea? If we have a question mark, we typically would like to move it as a star. You know, the product has a growing market growth rate, but the relative market share is small. So therefore, we would like to switch it in a stars. The cash cows could be also moved to the stars, but the dogs that should be these products assigned as a dogs should be typically excluded from the company portfolio. You know, because if the demand for this product is decreasing, if the relative market share is low, it's much better to replace it by another product and to exclude the dogs from the production. So that's the introduction and the description of this matrix. Okay, once more, some questions or some comments. If somebody from you has some questions or comments, just let me know now. And if not, we're gonna do the first task to practice it, how to do the BCG matrix in reality. Okay, so I can see that there are no questions. So yeah, Pedro is asking, just a moment. Oh, no. Pedro is asking, okay. Pedro is asking, is there a form of time limit or how long each section lasts? No, not at all. You know, in some companies, for instance, the cash cow could take for many years. Yeah, it's more, it's more connected. How long is a whole life cycle of a product? The life cycle of a product could be quite short in terms of cell phones, but it could be quite long in some specific machines for industry. Yeah, some grinding machines or something like this. The same could be with some cars. Some models are produced just 3-4 years, but some models were very successful on the market and produced for more than 10 years. Okay? So it depends on the individual situation. We cannot say that the question marks takes only 2 years and the cash cows only 5 years. It really depends what's the industry and what kind of products are we talking about. Typically, the less innovative is the industry, the longest is the time. The longest is the time for what the product is placed in one of these quadrants of BCG matrix. It's more influenced by the industry itself. Uh, we cannot say generally that the dogs are only 2 years in a position, or products as the dogs are only 2 years in a position and they're put out. Yeah. So it depends on the industry and on the products in the industry. And the more innovative is the industry, the shortest is the time period for this. Okay, more questions? More questions? Okay, if not, this thing you do. If not, so I've uploaded you 3 documents in the document server to this course. And now we're gonna start with a document that's called, this is called CS5, case study 5, and it's called Nestle BCG. CS5, Nestle BCG. I'm trying to show it to you. No, it's not the correct one. So I'm trying to upload you the file. So you should open the file CS5 Nestle BCG, and yeah, that's it. So you should see this. What is it? Yeah. So it's as part there are no calculations. It's a description of the product portfolio of Nestle. And there are 4 different products. One product are the Maggi 2-minute noodles. Then there are some mineral waters. Then there are Jenny Craig and Lean Cuisine and Nesquik. And your task is following. Please read this task individually and answer the question in the end. The question is easy. Try to figure out a BCG analysis of these 4 products. The products that are in a bold letters: Maggi 2-minute noodles, mineral water, Jenny Craig and Lean Cuisine, and Nesquik. So try to read it carefully, try to do the BCG analysis, and try to write me your answer to this task to the chat of this channel. Yeah, I think that 10 minutes could be okay. Yeah, so read it and decide about individual for or decide where exactly to put the noodles, water, Lean Cuisine, and Nesquik in the BCG matrix. Yeah, so that's a task for you. This is individual task. 10 minutes for this, and then we're gonna sum up your results and your decisions. And if you have some more questions, you need to explain something, clarify something, just write me in the comments. Okay, perfect. I can see some answers of you. So providing you some extra time to answer everything correctly. So when reading your answers, so as far I can see that all of you answered right. So perfect, yeah. So was it difficult? I hope not. By the way, it was only the starter, yeah. So just the starter, how to do this kind of analysis. So Charlotte, yes. Okay, yeah. So those of you who is it okay? I'm checking in one by one and to see if it's your water, if everything is correct. Perfect. Yeah. So after this, after checking your answers, we're gonna do the second task. The second task, you know, it seems to be more not practical oriented, but more focused on the analytical piece of work because we have to firstly calculate calculate the we have to firstly calculate the measures and then to decide how is the situation between these products. Yeah, so perfect. Okay. Okay, all of you, as far all of you are absolutely right. That's perfect. Super. The second part or the second task is this second case study. The case study is called, what's the name? It's called it's CS4 BCG analysis. Yeah, CS4 BCG analysis. And what is it about? So the second task is following, or it looks like following CS4 BCG analysis. You should see it now. The task is following. Imagine that the chocolate company is one of the biggest producer of chocolate products on the EU market. The company produces truffles, pralines, chocolate bars, chocolates, and biscuits. So you can see that they have 5 different products. The company is interested. How is the structure of the product portfolio, especially in terms of risk and profitability, and therefore they decided to do the BCG analysis. We have some table, including the information from the market. What's in the table? We are doing, the comparison of the product from our company to another competitors. Yeah. And we know how are what do we know? We know what are the sales for these 5 products, and how is the market share? It means how is the market share of our truffles at the whole market of truffles in the country? How is the share of our province turnover on the whole market in the country? Yeah, and the same chocolate bars and their share on the total market in the country. Chocolates, biscuits. Yeah. So those are the input information. We have also the information about the competitors. What do we know about the competitors? We know how many another competitors are on the market. So how many another competitors do we have on the market? And how are the sales of the biggest competitor? What about the sales of the biggest competitor? For instance, 0.7 million. How are the sales of the second biggest competitor and the third biggest competitor? And finally, we also know how is the relative market growth, rate for each of these 5 products. Yeah, a relative growth rate for truffles, pralines, chocolate bars, biscuits, and so on. So what's our task? Firstly, we have to calculate the missing values. It means the market share for competitor 1, market share of competitor 2, market share of competitor 3, then the market share of other competitors, calculate the whole market size and relative market share. From these values, yeah, we can develop the BCG matrix. We're gonna do this, or we're gonna do all calculations in Microsoft Excel in order to speed it up. We should interpret the BCG matrix and think about possible changes in the chocolate company produce assortment. It means what are, for instance, the dogs that should be excluded, and what are the question marks that should be moved into stars. So this is the second task. Those are the basic information. I would also recommend you to open the Microsoft Excel file that I've uploaded to the document server. So some questions, not, yeah. So I would recommend you to open the file for called CS4 BCG student, and you should I'm trying to show it to you if it works. Yes, BCG student. So all of you can see now this list, and we're gonna start with the first list of blind. Yeah, so please try to open this Microsoft Excel file in order to see this and in order to start with the calculations together with me. Yeah. So if some of you has some trouble with the opening, or somebody is missing the file, just let me know. And all of you has to be at the same level now. And to start. Yeah, so please open this file CS4 BCG student. And you should see the totally same table like in a previous file. I'm just copied from the previous file here in Microsoft Excel, and we're gonna use it for the calculations. So I hope that everybody has opened the file and is ready. Yeah. So how to calculate it? Yeah. First, the first thing for the calculations is to the first thing for the calculations is to calculate the market size. Yeah. The market size. How to calculate it? The whole market size is calculated, like a share of sales to the market share. So overall market size is the sales 0.5 divided by market share by 21%. So this is the first step to calculate the market size for all products. How do we calculate this in easy way? We know how is the market share of our company. It's 21%, and we know how much is 21%. It's 0.5 million euros. Therefore, we use just the percent to calculate how is the 100 of this. So sales divided by market share, and we calculate the overall market size. So in my case, divide the cell B3 by C3, and the total market size is 2.38. Yeah, so it's correct. Then you should copy these. You can just copy this formula to another cells, and this is the first column that should be filled in. Yeah. So the first step. Who from you has some questions? Just write me in the comments, and I can repeat it once more. Yeah. So the first thing, how to calculate the 100 markets. How to calculate 100% market size. Yeah. So it's a sales in our company divided by a share of the market. Yeah. Divided by a market share. And the total is sales divided by a market share, 238. Yeah, so, and then you just need to copy just to copy this formula to another cells, and you're finished with this. Okay. Okay, if you have questions, just write me in the comments. I'm checking them. So we know how is the market size. Okay. No, good question. Charlotte is asking the sales. This is the unit price. No, this is a total turnover. Total turnover for individual product in our company. Yeah. So this is not the unit price that, for instance, one piece of truffles cost 0.5 euro. Those are the sales in millions for each individual product in our company. Yeah. So the sum of sales for truffles, pralines, chocolate bars, chocolates, and so on. Yeah. Okay. I hope no more questions. Perfect. So first step, if calculating the BCG matrix, first we have to calculate the market size. The second step is following. We have to calculate the market shares of 3 biggest competitors. Yeah. We know that we have from 5 to 8 competitors in different products, but we have to know, or we have to do just the analysis for the for 3 biggest competitors. Yeah, we do not have to compete with small one, but only with the 3 biggest competitors. Yeah. So how to do this? The second step is to calculate the market share of each individual competitor. how to do this? Okay, to calculate the market share of competitor, it's easy. We have to calculate the market size. So we have to calculate the market size, and it's uh, divided by market. It's divided by a market. Divided by a market. Where is it? Not market size divided by a competitor one sales. Yeah? I would recommend to use a dollars. So write dollar L3 divided by E3. Yeah, because we're gonna copy this formula to another columns, so we can speed it up in this way. So that's a formula for counting the market sales of competitor number one. Market size divided by the competitor sales. So how is the share of competitor one sales on a total market price? Yeah? And the result should be 3.4. Yeah? So those are the market shares. No, something is wrong. No. No, this is correct. Sorry, it should be in percent. So sorry, it's competitor one sales divided by market size. Yeah, E3 divided by dollar L3, and the result should be 0.29, 0.26, and so on. Okay, so check it if you have it same. And if you calculate this column F, yeah, so if you use the formula of E3 divided by dollar L3, yeah, so the competitor one sales by a market size total, so then it's quite easy, yeah. Then we have to only copy this formula to market share of competitor number two, and to the market share of competitor number three. So you just need to copy the formula, put it in the first line, and then to then to copy the formula to the rest of cells here. I can see that I have too many decimal numbers, so yeah, it looks better. So I'm still counting the competitor two sales divided by a total market size, and competitor three sales or sales of the fourth competitor to the market size. Yeah, so I'm counting this, and that's this result. So if you have some questions, just write me to my comments. Okay, then finally, what is missing? We are missing the market share of other competitors. So it means we have there only 3 competitors, and there are 8, 22, 14, 5, 10 competitors. So what we have to do now? We have to just calculate the market size minus these 3 individual values. Yeah, so the market size minus market share of competitor 1, market share of competitor 2, and market share of competitor 3. Yeah? And we know how is the market share of other competitors. So only to calculate this. Perfect. Yeah. Then The last part, what's missing, we have to know the relative market share of all these products to the rest of the market. Yeah. So how is the relative market share? And this is the market share, the market share divided by the biggest competitor. So the relative market share is divided uh, uh, by the biggest competitor. Yeah. So relative market share, it's.
Excuse me, can we double check column H? Because, for example, in column E, I'm sorry, we have 0.7 divided by 2.38, it gives us 0.29, and then in the column G we have 0.6 divided by the same number gives us okay, 1 second.
It seems to be correct. Maybe I
Okay.
can put there more.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
It should be correct now. Is
Okay.
it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And finish the relative market share. So we have to calculate the market size. We have to calculate in a relative market share the market size of competitor number one and the market share of chocolate company. Yeah. So we should calculate there the points. So this is relative market share is our market share, C3, divided by the market share of competitor number one. Yeah, so C3 divided by F3. And what does it mean? If we compare our market share and the market share of the biggest competitor, we can see that the market share is 71%. Yeah, so we are on the 71% as the biggest one competitor. Yeah, in terms of truffles. If I copy if I copy these numbers, so in province, yeah, if we compare the province, so we can see that our market share is 107% market share of competitor number one. If we compare the chocolate bars, we see that the market share of our chocolate company is 67% of the biggest competitor. For chocolates, our market share is just 65% of our competitors. For biscuits, we have 33% of the biggest competitors. So this is the relative market share of our company. Okay, as far some questions. How do we calculate the market share of others? It's easy, yeah. Only the market share of others. Once more, this is the market size minus market share of number one minus market share of number two minus market share of number three. Yeah. And yes, question? No? So this is market share of others. Yeah. So market size minus. Yeah. So this is market size minus market share one minus market share two minus market share three. Yeah. And those are the results. Once more, how to calculate the relative market share? Yeah. Once more. Yeah. So we have to calculate how is the share of our market share to the biggest competitor. Yeah. So how is the C3 divided by F3? How is our market share divided to the market share of the biggest competitor? Yeah. So C3 divided by F3. So how is the market share of our chocolate company to the market share of the biggest competitor? Yeah, and then I'm just copy the formula. Okay, relative market share, yes. No, it's Pedro is asking if to minus our market share. No, it's not necessary. So, do we understand the relative market share, or do you have more questions? Relative market share. Okay, so as far we understand this, okay. Then if yes, uh, I'm gonna show you how to how to define and how to develop the BCG matrix in Microsoft Excel. There is something prepared in advance in order not to spend so much time. But basically, the way how can we do this in Microsoft? Okay, so there is one more question. Maria is asking, why don't we subtract our market share? Sorry, I don't understand the question. If you can repeat once more. For relative market share of biscuits, shouldn't we use MS2 instead of MS1? No, we do not. We are selecting the biggest competitor overall, and with the biggest competitor, we are doing the comparison. This is the answer for Beatrice's question. For Pedro, I mean that MS of others is the total 100. It shouldn't be the subtract of, what is it? I mean that market share of others, if the total, then shouldn't be the subtract. Pedro, are you asking about the market share of others? Because I'm not sure if I understand your question. Yes, but you know, we just need to know how is the market share of other. Yeah, so out of our company. Yeah, so the total market size without our company, without market size 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so therefore this calculation. 8%. Okay, more questions? More, if you have more questions, yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I can see the comment from Carlos. Yes, Carlos, you're right. It was my mistake. Yeah. So the market share, sorry, the market share of others. Yeah. So it should be not the market size minus the market share 1, 2, and 3, but 1 minus F minus market shares of 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. So once more. Yes, sorry for this. This is my mistake. Yeah. So 1 minus 0.29 minus 0.25 minus 0.17. And then this is the market share of others. Where is it? I can show you these figures once more. Okay, so if you've seen this, figures, yeah. So then the next step is following. Well, we need to calculate the. We should calculate the final BCG matrix and following. Yeah, I prepared it in advance. So there is again the same table. So we can copy there on the list final. We can copy there the data from the previous table. So only just the copy paste. And you can see the chart describing these 4 quadrants. And based on this, you can decide what's the solution, or not the solution. First, what's the distribution of the products in the BCG matrix, and how to interpret them. Yeah? So the easiest way is to copy this. Yeah? So we can copy this table, paste it into final. And if you do just this, I prepared a chart in advance describing how is the position of them. Yeah. So what what are the variables there? Yeah. As I told you. So on the x-axis there is the market growth rate. Yeah. So the growth rate. This is this column. Yeah. So how fast is it growing? This is the column number. That's the column number M. Yeah. And the relative market share. Yeah. So this is the column N that we calculated. So from these last columns, we can calculate we can develop the final matrix. Yeah. So if you calculate correctly, so the most important are the market growth rate and the relative market share, and based on this, we can do a dot diagram, yeah, and we can set that the size of these of these points is based on the market share of each individual part. Yeah. So what can we see? What are these stars? So stars are pralines. Yeah. So if I again scroll up, so the pralines products that has a really high market share, and also the growth rate is quite fast. It's 18%. Yeah, it's been set from the task. How is the growth rate in the current year with the previous year? So pralines, those are the star products. This is positive. Then we can have the truffles. The truffles as a cows. Truffles as an example of a product that's truffles as a product that doesn't grow so fast, because truffles are growing. Truffles are still growing, but the market share is a bit lower. Yeah, so then we put them as a cows. Then we have dogs. Yeah, the dogs. Those are chocolates and chocolate bars. The product that are not growing at all, but the relative market share is also rather smaller. Yeah, chocolate and chocolate bars, so rather small relative market share and a small growth rate. And finally, the biscuits. Finally, the biscuits as a product with the low growth rate, yeah, but a high relative market share. One more question or one more comment, yeah. How to decide where exactly to place the difference between the dogs and cows, the difference between the stars and cows, and so on. So there is no some there is